Well, hey everybody, this is Glenn here at Sauna Times, and I am really happy to share this episode with you today. Eero Kipi from North America Sauna Society. Eero is a Finn living in New York, and he has been the president for the North America Sauna Society for quite some time. You'll hear about the origins of that on this podcast, and I really enjoyed visiting with him to help bring to you a little bit of flavor of what sauna is really like, for the Finns that grew up with it their whole life, from a young child growing up, apartments down at the lake out in the archipelago, very intertwined in the culture, and that's a great spirit to bring forward to you in this episode. So without further ado, I just wanted to say hello, and we're coming out of this Corona thing. I'm super excited for more sauna in the public domain. It's going to be a lot of fun to get on the road again and see some people I haven't seen in a long time on the bench, and I would like to list Eero as one of those guys I'd love to visit and hope to see you on the bench sometime soon as well. This show is brought to you by the Sauna Research Institute. The Sauna Research Institute is a newly formed 501c3 nonprofit. Its mission is to advance the research and study of hot and cold sauna therapy and practice in order to help people live healthier and happier lives. The Sauna Research Institute is initiating its first study, and it is open right now for participants. It's a survey-based study on the mental health benefits of sauna. So I encourage you to go to saunastudies.com and click on the news section, and you could take part in this research. Well, welcome. I'd like to introduce Eero to Sauna Talk. Eero, you and I have had some great conversations leading up to our chat today, and I thought for this visit, it would be nice to begin at your beginning. Could you share with us your first memory of sauna and what that felt like and at what age?
It's sort of funny you would ask that because I really have to think about it, and I hope that I'm not going to take too much of our time to talk about my life. But I was 3 months old when our family moved from the outskirts of the capital, Helsinki, to a western town in Finland called Turku, which is Turku. And we lived obviously in the residential building. And at the back, there was a backyard. And on the ground level of that backyard was a sauna for the people who lived in that apartment building. So I'm 62 years old now. I guess I don't have a recollection of the first time, obviously, but I think I was less than a year old. So I've been sauna bathing for, I think, at least 61 years. I do have some real memories, though, of that sauna. So we moved to Helsinki when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And actually, if I may, can I tell you about the first experience in sauna in North America?
Sure. Let's run to that in just one quick moment. If you were to try to remember that sauna in Turku, electric, wood-fired, you mentioned it was in the apartment building that served the tenants in the building. So am I assuming correct that it was electric or not?
I don't think it was electric at that time. I think it was a wood burner, because this was early 1960s. Mm-hmm. So I think that I really can't remember exactly, but I think that electric stoves came in later.
Yeah,
Around
right.
that time, I mean, probably the technology was already there, but it was not very common.
Yeah, but what is common, to your point, is in the early 60s, uh, it was common that all apartment buildings had a sauna to serve the tenants. Is that right?
Pretty much so, and not only that, but like when my father went sauna bathing with his father, like you scroll back another maybe 30, 40 years or so, it was not only the residential buildings had had those saunas, but also there were public saunas all over the place. So that
Mhm.
was also because very early on, particularly at least I think in Finland, apartment buildings really didn't have bathrooms in the very early days. So you had basically at the back of the yard, you had your outhouses, and then you
Mhm.
had a public sauna somewhere to get
Mhm.
clean.
Right on. So Finland was a very clean country back then because as we know, and I don't know if you can agree, but I never feel more clean than after a good sauna session. And I just wonder about these other countries that didn't have sauna before plumbing and stuff. There must have just been like some sort of bath, like England probably had the bath halls and stuff, but Finland, very common, right? These
Yeah,
public
yeah. It,
saunas.
it was a different ball game,
Yeah.
but when people ask me about this, I often say that it's sort of like we were cleaner before we started to get dirtier. So it's just, Finnish people just kept going. Everybody moved on, but we were thinking like, this sauna thing is great, so let's not forget it. Let's keep going, and it has been keeping on going for so long. But anyway, so I totally agree with you. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
totally. So then you moved to Helsinki as a young child. You probably had
Yeah.
sauna as part of your life in Helsinki, and you could touch on that. Or if you would like to stay with the chronology and tell us about coming to America, your choice.
Well, yeah, okay. Let's go back. Let's stay there. At the early '60s, '70s, a little longer. So we had a place, and unfortunately, because of being here for so long here in the U.S., I mean, we had a summer. My parents' estate had a summer place in the Finnish archipelago. It's further west from Turku, about an
Mhm.
hour. Like I said, in the archipelago. My dad did something which was a little bit unthinkable because he built a cottage first, and only after that the sauna. And normally it has to go the other way around. You start with the sauna, then you build the cottage. But so I was maybe 5 years, 6 years old when we got our sauna. It unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. My dear brother leveled it. He bought the place, and he's got a new sauna there at the same spot where the old one was. But it's like for everybody, growing up around sauna, that was the ground zero for me. That was
Mm.
the best sauna ever. You
For
know.
listeners, and many listeners are somewhat new to sauna compared to yourself, Eero, who grew up, of course, with sauna. Can you describe that sauna? And again, for listeners, was this in the archipelago, the sauna that you're
Yes,
describing?
yes,
And I
yeah,
just have to interject another thing that you and I have in common is the archipelago in the Baltic was my formidable experience for sauna when I was 24 years old, 22 maybe. I spent a sauna on an island rebuilding a cottage, and we would sauna every night. We would hop in the boat and go to the other uncle's island and fire up the stove. And we pulled in perch and flounder from the Baltic and potatoes. And so I'm really excited to hear about this sauna. And I'm closing my eyes and imagining it probably not too dissimilar to my formidable time in the archipelago. So, what are your memories of that sauna for us, please?
well, everything, of course, because if I would say it was built in the early 1960s, 63, maybe
Hmm.
64, and I've been sauna bathing for all the way up. Like only it was taken down maybe 3, 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
so at the very epicenter, and of course, some people some people maybe don't understand parts of the Finnish lifestyle because the idea is that at least back in the day, everybody had a summer place.
Mhm.
It's like everyone had a summer place somewhere, and almost all of them had saunas. So that's part of the lifestyle, and so this was ours, and it was by the water. Obviously, it was by the sea. It was not a lake. It was the Baltic Sea, and there was a jetty. So it was right there. You could step outside, go to the jetty, and jump into the to the water.
Mhm.
And it had a dressing room. You could basically three grown-ups could sleep in that dressing room if they so wanted, and the dressing room had its own fireplace. And then on the other side of the door was the actual sauna, the hot room, and you could accommodate, I don't know, maybe four grown-ups on the upper bench.
Mhm.
That was the size of, so it was small, compact, and very nice, and obviously wood burn as always, wood burning heaters, and it had a water heater tank there as well, and yeah, no,
Mm.
it very standard Finnish sauna, and it was obviously part of our lifestyles. We heated that up. Of course, it was a short, like a weekend stay. We heated up that Friday, Saturday, probably even Sunday, and then drive back into the city. It was summer. When we were kids, we used to spend all the summers in the archipelago, fishing, sailing, doing stuff like that, and maybe probably sauna baited maybe twice a week, maybe three times a week, something like that, depending on how things went. But yeah, shorter
Yeah, man.
stays, sauna was always on.
Sounds a lot like my life in northern Minnesota, where so many of the Finns settled. Great memories, I'm sure, growing up there in the archipelago, and sauna was interwoven into the life that you shared there. Obviously,
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
So
yeah.
then you got a bit older, right? Lived in Helsinki. Should we fast forward to America, or take us forward?
Let me. So eventually, we had also I my first apartment in Helsinki, my own apartment before moving together with my dear wife, was at the same apartment building where my parents lived, and we also had like a basement sauna there for the tenants, for the residents of that apartment building. And first I was using that when we had like this certain time. It was not the best possible. I think it was Mondays, like 6 o'clock, when we could use it. There was like a common thing also you could go to, but this was our own time slot to use that
Mhm.
sauna for. Now, when I moved into the studio in the same apartment building, what happened was I got my own sauna for Friday, just after work, like the prime time slot, Friday after work
Mhm.
for a bachelor. So what
Nice.
ended up happening is I had a line of my buddies waiting for me from to come from work to get to the sauna before we hit with the party scene.
Because you had the prime slot, the prime
I had
Friday happy hour slot.
I had the Friday happy hour. What's better than sauna baker with your buddies and then go out, to hops,
Totally.
go bar
Totally.
hops and whatnot. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that, and then when we moved, I moved together with my wife, and again, we didn't have a sauna in our own apartment, but once again we had a Friday time slot,
Mhm.
at the apartment building. We actually own that apartment still in downtown Helsinki. My daughter lives there now, and she has her own time slot. But times were obviously different. I was a married man with kids and whatnot. But now we go to the first experience of sauna in North America.
Mhm.
I
So,
was
can I just interject? Is your wife American, and where did you guys meet?
We met in college. She's a Finnish woman. We met in college.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, and it was actually because of her job we moved to the U.S. in the first place. So
Fabulous. Great. So
yeah,
two Finns coming to America, and you settled it in New York area?
correct, in suburbs. Yeah, I live in a small town called Rye, New York. but you have to have a skilled eye to understand where one town ends and the next one starts.
Mhm.
You've been here. You're from here, right? Originally, somewhere.
Upstate New York in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we are very close to New York City, and actually my wife's office. Not that she would have went there much during the past year, but it's in Midtown Manhattan, so it's a fairly short commute from here.
So good. So what does she do? What's her profession?
She's a pulp and paper consultant. That's what she does, and we've been lucky. You know, we haven't been hit hard because of pandemic, unlike so many people. But
well, the pulp and paper industry is big in Finland with all the trees and stuff. And yeah. So based in New York, yeah, there's a lot of paper milling happening in Minnesota too. Another parallel. But yeah, I appreciate your backstory. You're here in America, and now we can get into bringing things up to date, if that's fair. Can we?
Let me just tell you about that American sauna experience. So that was 1981. I was a student trainee in Portland, Oregon. It was actually Beaverton, Oregon, which is the suburbs. It's not far away from Portland, and there was like this. What do you call those? Like a co-op thing, you know, lots of apartments, you know, next to each other, and there was a central pool area, and there was also sauna. And I guess partially why you and I talk today is because of that experience in 1981. I believe it was June, because it was a huge culture shock for me, because that's like, you know, fishing and boating and sauna bathing and eating and whatnot. You know, that's kind of the background which you are so familiar with. Now, this was a sauna which was, I think we were lucky. It was like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was cooler inside than outside, even in Portland, Oregon. And it had a wall-to-wall carpet and an electric heater, and obviously, and thank God, no water on the rocks policy, because that would have exploded, that thing, if I were from water. But anyway, so that was when I first understand that there are like different realities when it comes to sauna bathing.
That's a great point. Can I interject on that?
Of course.
You being a Finn and living in America for 30 years now?
23 years. Yeah.
So you have a very interesting perspective. A lot of Finns that I know, when they think of sauna, they think of what you described in the archipelago or apartment buildings with, you know, very good ventilation and good heat, and it is a shock. It is a shock to know that what is good sauna from a Finn perspective doesn't often translate to other places. So do you find that when you talk with your Finnish friends or go back to Finland, do you find yourself in a position to be a sobering educator to other Finns about how the concept of sauna is not fully translated in other places? Or do you think Finns understand that the Finnish sauna is good in their country, but, you know, falls apart when you go other places?
I think it's pretty much the latter. It's everybody understands that sauna, and of course the times we are living are very exciting, because there's as we both know, there's a change in the air. So we started from somewhere very different, and we haven't reached our goal, not even close yet, but we are on a path for something different. And it's I don't have to explain to my fellow Finns that saunas are different in the US. Everyone knows that.
Okay.
It doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. And it's not like, and this also probably will change quite soon, hopefully, but a Finnish person doesn't even seek a public sauna when traveling in North America, because you know, unless you go to a Russian banya, there's a good chance that you're not, you know, whatever good it is, that might be excellent, but it's not what we are looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the Finns know. You would say if you grabbed 10 Finns off the street and pulled them and say, what do you think is happening in America with sauna? You would say many of them, if not all of them, would say, well, they're probably shitty saunas over there, even if they haven't come to America.
The I wouldn't necessarily say, well, that's pretty much what it means. But at the same time, I like to talk about thermal therapy. And whatever people are like we on the North American sauna side, we don't want to downplay anything. It's just like, if you're into thermal therapy, good, that's excellent. What we are concerned about is that people are not missing out, because it's like the sauna bathing experience. So it would be so easy to say that, okay, North American saunas are shitty. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But at the end of the day, it's a different way to thermal therapy, and it's like, if we can't all be driving Ferraris, maybe, I don't know, but we still want to go to, from A to B, right?
Right on, man. Well said, and very Finnish of you too, Eero. Very diplomatic. Tell us about North America Sauna Society and your place with it, and how long you've been involved.
So I was one of the founders. We started a North American Sauna Society in 2004. And the playing field was pretty much the same then, but still a little different, because when you try to visualize what I told you about that sauna in Beaverton, Oregon, that was kind of, for some reason, that was the norm, I think, probably, at least back then. So what happened was that 2004, I think that was about, maybe it had been going for some time, but that was the time when the Chinese infrared rooms started coming in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, as we both know, there's a lot of those, and they sell well. And now again, we felt that people will get confused, because an infrared room is an infrared room. It's one way of thermotherapy, and then at the other end is like the Finnish style sauna bathing, self-indulgence. And we were afraid, we were not afraid that people would be buying Chinese infrared rooms like crazy, which happened. But we just want to make sure to try to make people understand that there are other ways to thermal therapy, one of them being the one that I'm so used to.
Thank you. So two things I wanted to ask you. I'll start with this. Is it true that in Germany, if one is referring to an infrared, they can't use the term sauna as it relates to describing that?
That is true.
Can you share a little bit for listeners about that and what it means?
Well, I think I'm not too familiar with how the whole thing started, but in Germany they wanted to make sure, again, that there's a division, that you don't think, because again, coming back to the Portland, Oregon, or Beaverton, Oregon example, now the infrared room experience is not that far away from that experience what you get from a very lightly heated room with maybe less ventilation and so forth. So that was the route that the Germans decided to do, to trademark, to copyright whatever they did to make sure that the word sauna would not be used, with infrared rooms. The US decided to take a different route, and also, we have been, and I'm very thankful for this. So we were three this time, not obviously, but sauna tends to, it's pretty often men who really like sauna, ladies too, but men are more like, they are like sauna, almost crazy, some people. It's so important to them. So anyway, so we were three people who established North American Sauna Society. the CEO of a local Tyler Hilo here, and one guy who's Kalle Ruska, who's actually a sauna dealer nowadays, and me. Mm-hmm. But after we started ourselves, it's quite soon happened that all the major companies started selling infrared rooms as well, and eventually started calling them saunas. Their choice, and it's fine. And again, we don't want to downplay any mode of thermotherapy, but North American Sauna Society is here to solely support and promote Finnish style authentic sauna bathing.
Perfect. And that's a perfect lead to my next follow-up question. And I'm sure you get asked this question by journalists and people all the time. What is sauna? What is a Finnish sauna? How would you describe it? I would say many listening to this know the answer, but I think you do a great job of answering this question for people not so familiar. So could you please share for us, what is a Finnish sauna?
Well, sauna has a heater. It's powered by wood, electricity, gas, and the heater has rocks. Rocks is a central element of this, and you don't wanna heat it too low. You don't wanna heat it too high. It's a personal decision how hot your sauna is going to be. But I would say that for myself, I would say that I'm clocking minimum at somewhere like 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Somewhere there is my baseline to sauna bathing. And the one thing that is besides the hardware, besides the surroundings, the one thing which is crucial about Nordic Finnish style sauna bathing is that it's a process. So it's not something that you do for 10 minutes and you're done. It's a process when you go back and forth. You go, depending on what your body tells you, you go inside the hot room for 10 minutes, you relax for 20. And you don't want to go far to relax. You need a wet element, i.e. quite often a shower. You don't want to go far to take that shower. So it's the process of sauna bathing. And then also, of course, one thing that is very close to the Finnish people's heart is this thing called löyly, which is it's a generic word meaning both the heat inside the sunroom plus the actual process of throwing water on the rocks.
And that is a critical element to sauna, and that's a differentiator. So if we're looking to define sauna, there are facsimiles of sauna. Then you reference one of them, an infrared cabin or an infrared room. Sure, it's lined with wood. It has probably a wooden bench to it, but the source of the heat is different. We understand that. But a critical component, as you point out, is this thing about the rocks. There's a heating element that heat rocks, and these rocks are made to accept water to create steam or löyly. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That
right
is
on.
exactly.
So there you go. So that's the definition of sauna. Nothing more or less in a sense, right?
Yes, and kind of course, it's easy for me to say, considering that I'm trying to brag here that I've been sauna bathing for I think almost 62 years now. But of course, you don't want to trade that experience. You don't want that fulfillment. You don't want to trade that away. But then again, once again, people are buying fantastic pools. They're buying very nice thermal, infrared rooms, whatnot. If that makes you happy, fine. That's a move to the right direction.
Yeah, man.
We are, we are promoting the authentic stuff that people been doing for thousands and thousands of years.
Right on, brother. Very good. And the löyly is a critical component. Let's talk on a personal level. When you go into round one of your sauna, you mentioned about 165 Fahrenheit is a good starting temp for you. When do you like to initiate water on the rocks for a sauna session?
No, I'm at, well, actually, yeah, no, I was just trying to like mention like the lowest possible feeling.
Yeah, man. Okay,
And I would
good.
go with, I'm, I'm, I'm more of a, if I would have to pick a heat, I would say 190 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well,
That's where I want to stay.
I just was, I'll tell you a funny story. I have this little wimpy thermometer in my backyard sauna, and I'm at an age now, I'm 57, and I need reading glasses. At age 56, I didn't need them too much, but something happened in the last year. I don't think it was Corona, but anyway, I can't read the little numbers on my thermometer, but I can see the dial. And it was so funny, Eero. Just yesterday, I was looking. I was like, "What temperature is that?" I know where the dial is positioned that I like, but I don't know what that number is. And I've been sauning 3 times a week for over 30 years, and I go by feel. And I'm sure you're probably the same way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just yesterday, I knew where that spot is on the dial, and that number came out between 185 and 190. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You know what I find, and tell me if you can relate to this. To me, when it gets hotter, I don't mind it, especially in winter. I mean, I like it 200 plus on a cold winter's day. But I find once you get to that temperature and beyond, the benches get too hot.
Yeah.
Can you relate?
Yeah. That's also true. Yeah. No, when the heat is somewhere there 185, like you said, 185, 190, I would like my first round. I don't do too much löyly. I mean the throwing process löyly. I don't do that much of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like relaxing and letting the the heat overwhelm me. And the one thing that I've noticed, because I've been lucky enough, I have not many, but I have some very American friends with very little connections to Finland who are really keen on traditional, authentic sauna. And the one thing that I find surprising is that for some people, your body don't necessarily tell you right away what you it's kind of, that's why I think you have to, our education process is basically on one person at a time basis almost here. But once they get the hang of it, it's but anyway. So what I'm saying is, it's obvious. It's very easy for me because my body tells me everything. My body tells me when I want to drink something. And you have to obviously drink when you are sauna bathing because you're sweating so much, and it particularly tells me when I want to get the hell out of the hot room. It's like take a break. But once you get that routine going, of course, as we both know, nothing beats that. Nothing beats that.
Amen. There's so much to speak on that and unpack to that statement, and I appreciate that statement so much. What do you think about this line as it relates to sauna? For the Germans, they like rules in sauna. The Americans want proof that sauna is good for you, and the Finns apply no rules to sauna. What do you think?
I think that's pretty much true. Yeah, I could not. Coming back to that individual thing that your body tells you what to do. I don't need any Aufgussmaster there to roll a towel or anything like that. Like I don't need the Russian banya guy opening that huge lid and then throwing that back into that massive stove stuff. I want to go like and it's kind of an interesting thing because it's a very democratic process. It's like sauna bathing with your bodies. You of course, there are guys who try to be funny and then like throw too much löyly or something, but it's like a very well-regulated process without any regulations. But it's kind of an individual thing.
Love that, and I have to type that right now because there's no time like the present. Sauna bathing is a very well-regulated process with no regulation.
Yeah.
I find that so appropriate and so beautiful. And I think with a lot of young people getting very hip to sauna, and I think you can relate to this. A lot of millennials and 20 somethings are into, like this whole, biohacking and how to make your performance last longer. And there was a study about if you sauna regularly, your athletic performance can go up. So some are coming to sauna with a very optimization, health optimization side of things. But what I think is significant here, and I'm getting a little bit philosophical with you, but as it relates to young people, a lot of young people are looking for definitive rules and direction, and you do it for 18 minutes here and 24 minutes there. But I think what's so wonderful about what you said is it reaffirms the Finnish style is really about listening to your body. And I think that is the ultimate lesson that young people can learn, is to become a little bit more conscious, well, a lot more conscious within yourself and know where you are. And
Yeah.
as you and I sauna so much in our lives and stuff, we're not always in the same place each day either. Like each sauna session can be different within oneself. And so there are no rules to that. And I think if we try to jam rules into sauna about how long you sit in the cold plunge and the timer, the salt timer in the hot room, I think we're creating something that arguably is not fun anymore or not therapeutic anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, well, for one thing, there's absolutely no pain, no gain in sauna. So it breaks my heart with these sweat lodges and whatnot. These what do you call these? Well, we've had these
Yeah,
happening where people
those
actually,
retreats, like
yeah,
retreats and stuff.
yeah, that's absolutely nonsense. And we had our darkest days. When I can't remember, it was maybe 15 years ago. One guy died. There was like a Lolo competition in Finland.
Mhm.
That's just idiotic. But it truly is about listening to your body. And I have, and this is not the official NAS view. This is my own view. I have a problem, even though I totally understand. I would say that most of saunas today sold in this country are because, particularly in this country, are sold because of the health benefits. Health benefits is a very, very important thing. But having said that, though, I'm a little concerned, because now when you have an equation, well, health benefit equals sauna, you don't really question that what kind of sauna in this marketplace we're talking about. So I have, this is, of course, this is a little over the top example, but a very nice lady contacted me a couple of years back. I have this hotline where people post me questions about, and I answer them as soon as I can. But there was one lady who sent me an email, and I'm not even going to the type of hot room she was referring at, but she was like, that if I buy this thing, am I going to live longer? And I told her, no, ma'am, it's not going to happen. Maybe you will, maybe you don't, but it's not because of the box you are thinking about buying. So it's this is partially because we established ourselves, because there's so much marketing noise. There was a lot of marketing noise back in the day, and today there's even more.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel bad, being a Finnish person, but I'm like a party pooper very often. It's just like people ask, typical thing, and you see this in discussion forums as well, which you attend. It's like, I have this cold, I should sauna bathe, right? The answer is no, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put your body in a stress when you are sick, because then your body is being stressed even more. So anyway, it's just like it's a lifestyle.
Amen. I want to
Well,
interject.
and it has
Agreed. So when Yari's study came out at the end of 2015, and you know it well, 2,000 Finnish men were studied for a long time, and the reduction in the risk of all-cause mortality, including, Alzheimer's, dementia, and cardiac kind of cardiac disease. A very definitive study, very powerful. And you were living in New York at the time. Uh, do you remember when that study was announced and what kind of media presence that study got?
yeah. It was probably I just translated a text. It's by Lasse Viinikka, who's used to be the president of the International Sauna Association before Risto Elomaa, and he's a medical doctor. And I was actually just translated a one of his articles, and it's on the North American Sun Society's webpage on the blog post. But it was probably the most read Finnish medical article ever. So it was a huge media thing, and I do have a PhD, but I don't know anything about what the medical doctors know. But the bottom line, the way I see it, this might be totally wrong, is sauna is a cardiovascular exercise. And if you are healthy, the cardiovascular exercise is good for you. So again, it doesn't cure anything, but it makes you stronger, which is great. And partially this was, and of course it was kind of surprising to understand that that the results were that good.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Agreed.
and you are doing something great on that area as well. We need so much more information,
Yeah.
and we need information again of the results and where the results come from. So we need to know the surroundings, what kind of heat, what kind of place, and so forth.
Exactly. And that's what the Sauna Research Institute is all about, is the source of the heat. Now, Yari's study with the 2,000 men, it didn't need any asterisks beside it to define what type of sauna we were talking about. But once again, in America specifically, the greatness of that study was derailed because of the word sauna and what it really meant. So you had other facsimiles or compromised version of marketers of compromised versions of sauna using that evidence to promote their products. I just want to make mention of that, and I know you agree, but that's part of the issue that we have is, hey, we know that this sauna thing is great for you. We feel great with sauna. There is clinical evidence about how a lot of great study and more to come. But to exactly your point, Eero, it is really important that we document what type of sauna was used in these studies. And again, in defense to the study that came out of Finland, it didn't have to be defined, I guess, you could say, but in hindsight, maybe that would have been a nice thing to define it.
Yeah, I think so too. But all sorts of thermotherapy is good, but with the traditional one, you also get the super fantastic feeling, and that's why I'm the way I soundbait nowadays is I have this social thing, the social gathering kind of a thing. I got my buddies, and I'm afraid I say this every time I'm being interviewed, but the way I soundbait is not that healthy.
Yeah.
I might have under the legal limits, but I might have an adult beverage, somewhere there along the way. So I'm not doing that because
I'd like to interject on that because I've had a lot of thought about that, Eero, and I would have to say that it's not linear, right? Like alcohol is not bad for you. And this is a very European attitude in a way. Feeling good is good for you. and relaxation is good for you, and de-stressing is good for you. And if a cold
Yeah.
beverage of choice helps one get into that state, it's a mental state, and the benefit of that, a cold beer between sauna rounds, if that's your pleasure, far outweighs any alcohol intake and health negativities applied, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like you don't sauna bathe and heavy drink, not even close, because that doesn't make any sense. But like you said, it takes your mind totally away for, in my case, maybe 3 hours. I think from start to finish nowadays, 3-4 hours is how long I sauna bathe at one time, and of course my wife won't understand how it takes so long.
I know. That's why I built my sauna out back in the garage. That, 20 steps out my backyard, it's like I've gone to our cabin, and
Yeah,
she doesn't even know when I leave and when I come back. But it's sure been a wonderful way to expand the space of our property.
yeah,
Yeah. Hey, one more quick thing. Back to this woman who is asking you if she's going to live a longer life if she was going to buy a sauna. When Yari's study came out, I wrote an article on Sauna Times, and I said, what does this study mean to a sauna enthusiast? And I said, hey, for us, living longer may be something to behold, but with sauna, beyond the physical benefits, the life we are living now is better and more fulfilling because of our saunas. So whether we live longer because of our saunas isn't the reason why we sauna. We sauna because it makes the life we are living better.
yes, exactly, exactly. And it's kind of interesting thing that that it has taken for so long for people to understand that part. It's very exciting but having said that, though, there are more and more people now, and the younger generations are getting into it, and particularly about the social aspects of things. And there's one thing that I blame my fellow Finns for. We didn't do we're not very good at marketing stuff, unfortunately, and then we pay a heavy price for that. But the one thing that has been quite an obstacle is that, I don't know if you noticed this yourself, but at least back in the day, the first thing that a Finn says is, by the way, we sauna bathe naked. Like, that's almost the first thing. And then, of course, is anybody else is like, okay, whoa, thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
It is like we have to get rid of these kinds of ideas. If you're not comfortable with that, you're not comfortable with that, and it's not a problem. It's been dragging for too long, this idea that it's something super extreme, weird, and by the way, you do it naked.
Well, a couple of things to that. I can understand back to your experience outside of Turku and the archipelago. It's a very naked environment. You're on islands. You have a ton of nature around you. You're probably taking sauna with family, right? Or the
Yeah.
men's turn. The guys go first. That's
Yes.
generally the culture. So the nudity thing is no big deal. You referenced about young people getting into sauna, these new sauna businesses emerging in urban areas, right? Like at a brewery or
Yeah.
that kind of deal. I think, to your point, it's unfair or unreasonable to try to instill a nudity ethos into that environment. It's and even in Finland, I mean, the Lolu spa, Lolu in Helsinki, it's a bathing suit, and I would have to say, based on my experience in Finland, the younger people are very hip to the idea of sauna in a bathing suit. Wouldn't you
Yes.
agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. And we are finally getting rid of that thing. And of course, it goes without saying, and everybody knows this, and everybody should know this, but there's absolutely zero sexual about sauna. So that's it's like
Yeah.
going to a beach.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
there's
It's too hot in there anyway, Eero.
Correct.
That's wild. So, North America Sauna Society, could you update listeners on? Well, first of all, let me tee the ball up here. You said something really significant about sauna, and you're seeing this as a Finn in America. Um, the hockey stick growth, you know, this term hockey stick growth, and very appropriate, by the way, because the Finns
Yeah.
are so awesome in hockey. You got 10 million people and probably more NHL players than all of the continent of Europe combined, right? But anyway, hockey stick growth, interest in sauna.
Sure.
Have you been asked or put thought into why the tipping point now? Is it the health benefit thing? Did that create the snowball effect, would you say? Or could you distill it to one or multiple aspects to why the hockey stick growth of
It,
sauna in North America?
it's definitely it's the health benefit idea or ideal that's definitely there, and also it's interesting enough. This pandemic has worked like backwards in that respect, that people have decided that they want to spend more time at home, and now the first connection to something called sauna is normally your health club, spa, gym, and and now they understand that it's not good for you to go, and probably they're even closed as we speak, but they want to bring that experience home, and of course we would want to make sure that they're going to not only bring that experience or that thing home, but also like to spice it up a bit, maybe get something even better what they are used to. But yeah, definitely so. There's a lot more knowledge. There's a lot more hype. Uh, I guess we're gonna talk about that a little, but we since 2004, NASA has always been maybe too optimistic. We always thought that the big explosion was around the corner. It has not taken place, but now saunas are selling like hotcakes. And the interesting thing about the North American market is, I was actually just reading. I was just reading an article before our Zoom call. Uh, some people like barrel saunas. I haven't tried one, but the interesting thing is that even some it's not a I don't know I trust that that's not a Finnish innovation, because I never saw any barrel saunas in Finland growing up, but for $3,000 you get an actual sauna, and it's not insulated, so obviously you have to do something about it, and so forth and so on, but it's $3,000. That's a fairly reasonable price, because I think of a sauna as a house. So the reason why I don't have one in my backyard as we speak is because I think it's probably going to cost me like $30,000 to get one. Mm-hmm. So it's what I'm saying is that the price point is very low in this country as we speak. But I'm sure that once we have whatever types of lower price point saunas everywhere, then people start understanding the finesse of different features when it comes to the sauna, and it's going to come to the level of saunas back home.
Right on, man. We're really well said, and you and I have spoken about this before. I like to apply the metaphor of steps to a ladder, and there are entry points and low rungs on the ladder, and that's fine. And I think it's quite exciting that once people feel heat, and maybe good heat and better heat, they will want to climb the ladder. And why this ladder is going to be climbed, whether people seek this higher quality, higher steps or not, is the fact that these lower price ones don't have longevity attached to them. These barrels end up leaking, and water starts coming in. The stoves are like a toaster oven, and they're gonna they can only heat up so much before the elements are shot. And so there is some planned obsolescence with these entry level saunas. And I think that as you look at that input and layer on the fact that people are getting younger people, especially all of us, everything is a Google search away in terms of research. And I find it quite exciting that there is this huge appetite for knowledge of sauna that's
Yeah.
taking place. And I can relate it, maybe one more quick point to that. It's like anything, like whether you're talking pizza or coffee, consumable products. There is this ladder climbing that you see with better quality coffee, better quality pizzas. And it's just so fun to ride up the ladder with people and get them into better and better heat. I enjoy that hugely.
I totally agree with you, and I think that's a fantastic way to put it, and hence more than ever right now, all us who are into sauna, we really have to work together. We really, really do have to work together, and at least if not work together, keep us informed of what's going on, because it's just fundamental. I feel very strongly, and I guess I've pointed this out many times already today, but you can't, whatever you do, you can't tell people that what they're doing is wrong, because of, what they do is exactly what they want to do at that very point. You and I both share this idea that at the end of the day, when the learning process is the way, like ice hockey stick thing, when the learning process starts going up into the moon, then people understand about the features and the whatnot, and of course, but we still do have some, and I almost understand where these are coming from, but we do some obstacles here in the US when it comes to, say, like the UL coding. It's just like, sometimes it happens that when the electric heater sensor clicks at 194 degrees Fahrenheit, it means that the rest of the sauna room is not even close to that 194. So sometimes with some builders, it might even happen that you don't even get that sauna hot enough for what we feel like a rightful temperature. But that's another thing, and I'm sure that people are talking about this, and it's very widely understood with sauna aficionados.
Yes, and back to your point where you say we shouldn't judge if a certain version of sauna or something not sauna that does something that looks like a sauna is good for somebody, that's fine. Understood. Yet, do you feel that the sauna industry in North America has an obligation to educate people on what good sauna is? Or do you feel that the obligation of the sauna industry in North America is to provide a various selection and let people decide for themselves?
I think that idea to have an obligation to educate is great, but I don't think that in reality that would happen. So it's kind of, if you want to, and I'm not, so I don't get a cut from anything. So I'm a third person in this equation. But either you sell a sauna, what you call a sauna, or you don't. But you can't. It would take a totally different business model and totally different business world to have the industry can't do it by themselves. We can help, and we are here to help, but the sauna industry can't do it alone. I feel very strongly about this, and of course it's kind of unfortunate, all the marketing noise, and all the marketing and market noise out there. It is very unfortunate. People get totally wrong ideas about sauna bathing, but we have North American Sauna Society has as Clough's USA as a manufacturer member, and Tylo Hilo. They sell also very nice saunas, but they also sell what people want to buy. and I don't know where the education process go there, but again, that's hopefully we don't have we don't have resources, we don't have big resources, we can't run any campaigns and so forth, and it's very difficult to even run a campaign. Finnish government has been doing this forever, bringing people, journalists over to Finland to sauna. In my own opinion, in my personal opinion, what good does it do? It is like, if somebody gets to the sauna at the very nice sauna in Finland, great, but it doesn't translate. It still doesn't translate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So I don't what kind of.
Go ahead.
Tell me about what kind of education or like the obligation. What would you feel that would be the right way to do this?
Well, I can relate to the food industry, right? Like there is an obligation for any food manufacturer to, disclose full ingredients. There's an obligation to maybe more of an ethical consideration to sell food that's not bad for you, sustainably sourced ingredients and that kind of thing. But but there's plenty of food companies that are selling crap, right? But I think the marketplace is calling out those companies and forcing them to change. Sustainable packaging, and so I would draw the parallel to the sauna industry in that the consumer is getting a lot smarter. They want to know what a warranty looks like. They want to know, where the stove is made. They want to know. They're starting to get more hip to ventilation and. A lot, and just to go down that rabbit hole, a lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, I don't like sauna; it makes me tired." Well, to me, and this is empirical based, not scientific based, but a lot of fatigue from sauna has to do with lack of oxygen in the hot room.
Yeah.
And so I guess, and I appreciate you asking me the question. I don't think it's killing the messenger, meaning like blaming the substandard bad saunas on the people selling them is the answer. Again, sticking with the analogy, in the food industry, there is legislation. You can't call something all natural if it's not all natural. I personally believe that some entity should be able to define and authorize when one can use the word sauna based on its primary definition, i.e. water on the rocks and all that jazz. So I think that there is a bit of both, that Eero, that could take place. I think the Food Drug Administration is quite strong. They're going to tell you what you can put on the label and not in the food industry. We don't have the FDA for sweat bathing, right? So it is a self-regulated gig. And I just put my faith in the consumer. Once you more good saunas, like I see it in my world, these mobile saunas that we've built in Minneapolis and stuff. Once people step in, the 612 sauna, Society sauna, or the Stockyard people doing great, once you provide great heat for people, there's no going back. And that's part of that climbing the rung of the ladder. And I think that's the way to win.
That's true. That I agree 100%. Once you get to try the real deal, you don't want to go back. I feel, again, personally, I feel that the sauna industry has been so small in this country for so long that we are almost like flying under the radar. And it's got a lot of things like, for one thing, like insurance in your own sauna, or if you want to do like a mobile sauna business, get that insured. It's somewhere between maybe and impossible to do.
I know. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Hey, let's jump forward real quick, and we set the ball up for. Tell us about North America Sauna Society and what we're up to. What's the initiative on the table currently?
So we try to take now a huge step. So we've gathered a group of sauna people who are really, really in the know. How many you included? How many are we? Maybe 13, 14 persons. I can't remember now exact number. And we will start a public sauna member category. But before we can start a public sauna member category, we have to define what makes a good public sauna. So we want to talk to people who are very familiar with authentic sauna bathing, and cut the ingredients of what makes a good laulu, cut those two ingredients, and then to rate create a star rating system to rate those saunas. And why we do this? Again, it's not to prove that we like some saunas better than the other ones, but it's to give the consumers, the sauna users, an understanding that they without even going to the establishment, they would have an idea what to expect, what's happening there. So again, going to define sauna, take 1/4 of sauna and define it somewhat better maybe than before. That's the first step.
Okay. Has this idea come to North America by influence or example of other countries? And if so, where and how is it being initiated?
Well, we've been sort of, and I should say not we, but I've been dragging my feet on this for many, many years, because I thought that particularly the United States was not ready for this yet. But we are a member organization, obviously, with the International Sauna Association, and also with the Sauna from Finland, which is a different group. And Sauna from Finland has been granting not many, but a couple of certificates also in this country. And besides them, the Sauna Bund in Germany, they've been doing this for a very long time, and it's the whole business model. They're well funded as far as I can know. Of course, I'm envious about that part, but they have a lot of, well, Germany, in general, they have a lot of public saunas, but they've been rating those saunas for a long time now, both in Germany and in Austria. So I've been trying to the sauna business is pretty much now down in Germany because of the pandemic, but I've been trying to get a hold of them for quite some time now, but there's a lot of information on the website. So looking a little what Germans do, what the Finnish people do, and making something that is purely American from those ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And
how about Japan?
Well, Japan comes. I was just going to say, after we've done that, and hopefully we will succeed on doing that. After we've done that, then, and if we're even more successful, we're going to start naming and educating sauna ambassadors, hopefully in every state in this country. And where that comes from, the model comes from Japan. So they are very good in that stuff. I've learned to understand.
Fabulous. And that comes with a free mobile sauna and an American Express card to travel around and rate saunas, correct?
As I've had forever, yes.
That sounds like a good gig worth applying for.
Yeah.
Hey,
No.
So, Eero, I have a couple of quick rapid fire questions for you. And the first one has to do with mobile sauna, but before I do, is there anything you'd like to share? I really appreciate being able to visit with you as we have this afternoon. I'm going to go fire up my sauna as soon as we hang up, and you've got me all fired up, as they say. I can't wait to get out in sauna. But I did not want to. I didn't want to stop without asking you. Is there anything you want to ask me, or is there other things that we maybe want to touch upon?
Yeah, well, not really, but the one thing I want to point out that at least the group that we are working with right now, we share a common interest, and it doesn't matter, if you are into infrared rooms, if you are into, whatever you might be, good, but that that you always have a choice. You always have choice, and if you have to make compromises, and then you would know that you're actually making compromises on your road to that fulfilling self, indulgence. So no, I think we are, as the people who love sauna in this country, we are at a very good place right now, because we really do see things proceeding right now way better than any time before. I should say, at least since the early 2000s, when I've been involved.
Right on. Well, a big thanks to you on that for galvanizing this team of like-minded enthusiasts together. And we look forward to revisiting, and we'd love to have you back on Sauna Talk, or maybe one of the other participants. We can keep listeners updated on the progress. Mobile saunas. It's a two-part question. Are you surprised at how they are becoming really popular in America, is part one? And number two, in the spirit of mobile sauna, if you could bring a mobile sauna to anywhere in the world, what's the first place that comes to mind?
The answer to the first part of the question is no. I saw this thing coming, and I think that's a very good product for North America. Mobile saunas, I think it's an excellent product, because back in the day, I'm not saying it would be happening that much today, but let's just put it in the past. Back in the day, there was always an architect or a contractor that would pretty often, make some mistakes that made a sauna not that good a sauna to saunabate in. So we've kind of had this problem in this country sometimes, that even though the sauna manufacturer make a good sauna, but either the installation or the location makes it. You've seen all this. I've been in an Upper East Side, Manhattan Upper East Side residential building, where they had a sauna in the bathroom. And what I'm saying is a sauna in the bathroom. I'm saying that there's a toilet and then there's a sauna. So those are your choices, right? So it's with a mobile sauna, is somebody has built it, who has full understanding, hopefully, what a sauna is, and then it's of course you can basically put it somewhere where there's no water, but that's your own shame. But it's like you get this product, which is it's right there. I think it's good, and I hope that we're going to see a lot of mobile saunas. And the second part of the question, and I've been actually working on it for quite some time, but I'm doing this work pro bono, so I'm not making North American sauna business. It's not going to make me rich, but the right place is going to be my backyard.
I love it. That's such a great answer, brother. I love it. Well, hey, I will extend myself to help you in that endeavor, Eero, because that's my life is a sauna at our island cabin and a sauna in my backyard. And so you've really struck a chord of enthusiasm with me. And yeah, what better place than a few steps out your backyard for a mobile sauna? So beautiful. Thank you for that answer. And I also want to mention the mobile saunas in North America for the enterprising folks that are trying to initiate a business and stuff. It's a great little workaround, because whether you're in a community like Bozeman, Montana, or Bend, Oregon, I mean, you have young people and breweries and good nature too, streams and lakes. And the fun part is there's no health inspector or building inspector to, you can stay one mile ahead of those people, because you don't fall under any licensing, sort of like a mobile food truck. It allows one to bring their creative sauna spirit to where they want to go. And I see that as a big driver on the mobile front. So I want to acknowledge that.
Well, when it comes to North American Sauna Study, the mobile sauna is very close to our heart, because we were established because of one sauna campaign in the early 90s. And it was on the West Coast. There was a mobile sauna cruising around that area. And it was before my time. I moved here in 1998, so I didn't see that happen. But they said that it was a great success. And Finland turned 100 years old 2017. And Tailo Hilo donated a mobile sauna which cruised. You saw it. Did you try?
Yeah, with Risto. Yeah, I had those guys over for Sauna Talk in my backyard about a week before they went on the road. And that was just so awesome of those guys to celebrate the 100-year anniversary. And I did sauna in that mobile sauna, and it did such a great thing for authentic sauna, the true Finnish sauna with the great flag.
Yeah, I used it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Actually 3 times, I think. And it's actually here now. It's in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
That very sauna.
Yep.
But I was surprised. It was a super nice load. There was nothing wrong, because I was afraid that the measurements would be,
right
a little off, as they have to be, because it's but it was a good sauna.
Right on. If you could, you talked about your love of sauna from a social standpoint, and I appreciate that so much as well. If you could sauna with anyone in the past, say in the present or dead, alive, who's the first person that comes to mind that you would like to sit on the sauna bench with?
I know that this sounds naive, but I can't help it. I've been blessed in so many different ways in my life, and my dad was a very successful lawyer. He was sitting on the board of management at one of the biggest banks in Finland. They had a very fancy sauna, of course, being in Helsinki, Finland. Like a penthouse sauna at the very heart of Helsinki. And of course, every time I've got a chance, I used to sauna bathe with my dad. So sauna bathing with my dad was the thing to do, either in the archipelago or in downtown Helsinki in different places. So Dad has been gone since 2001. But a night with Dad, having a couple of sauna bathing.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yep. Great memories, great conversation, great reconnection.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I know the answer to I have 2 more quick questions for you, and I think I know the answer to this one because we touched on it, but I will ask one more time. What do you think is most misunderstood about sauna? Those maybe not so familiar, those new to it, that you would like them to know. What is most misunderstood?
Well, it breaks my heart to see these videos on YouTube about people, pre-exercise clocking like 10 minutes there inside the hot room, because that's a total misunderstanding of what sauna is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I don't even have to go further, but that's it. It's like considering what kind of process it is and how it's kind of, and I totally understand places where it's not the main attraction. It doesn't have to be, but it's not the place to warm your bones. That's it could be, but it's not that kind of sauna bathing that comes to my mind.
Right on.
But I think that's pretty much it.
Got it. So can you elaborate a little bit? I want to make sure I fully understand. What is it that is misunderstood?
The whole idea of like spending 10 minutes in a hot room. And that's what kind of all people do. It's just like, that's the 10 minutes and then you're gone. Mm-hmm. And then you're done and you go. So it's just like, this one round thing, this I'm doing this one round and clocking 15 minutes. I did it. I made it. I was there in 15 done.
Thank you.
That's not sauna bathing.
Yeah, man, I love it. Thank you for clarifying. That's drive-through, right? That's not enjoying a meal. That's keeping your car running and going through the drive-through of a version. What is, and we talked about 3 hours in sauna, and I agree with that time. I like to allow that amount of time. Many rounds, multiple rounds, the lolu, the steam, the cool down, and maybe even waking up in the morning knowing it's a sauna day, all the way through, the process to going to bed at night. If you think about that full range of sauna, what is your favorite part of a sauna session if you had to distill it to one moment?
I think it's normally, like you said yourself, it varies, depending on the day, on the time of the day, and the, whatever, all different reasons. But For me, the sweet spot is somewhere around maybe the my third round inside the hot room. It's really that heat and that starts you start feeling so good. And what we do with my group of guys, what we do is we almost always, but depending on the what time of the year it is, we have a fire pit. So it's like it can be, and as you know, it can be pretty cold here in this area, in the New York area. But we have the fire going, so it's not it's of course you're going to stay outside, but you're not going to freeze. You can stay there longer because you have the fire pit, and and that's probably my fault, but in a very Finnish tradition, we barbecue sausages on that fire pit, so we have something salty. When we are done, those discussions around the fire pit after the sauna, those are, almost as important as the second, third, maybe even, some. It's fairly normal. I'm going to do 4 rounds, but the third and fourth round those are the sweetest. Those make you feel so good, and you feel, as you know, all the way going to bed, you have that great feel.
Totally. So well said. What a great culmination to our chat. I think you explained that so very well. For those of us listening, I will put a link in the show notes to the North America Sauna Society, and please stay up to date with us in this great endeavor that Eero has championed to develop more knowledge of good sauna in North America, and more coming. Eero, would you like to take us out? Any final words?
No, I'm going to thank you, Glenn. You're a great sport. I truly like working with you, and we have a lot of work ahead of us. So it's like we are not done yet with this thing. And
amen, brother. And based on all of our discussions about sauna, I can tell we'll be right there. I can't wait to sauna with you. I think the only question when we get together is who's going to bring the cold beers?
To be on the safe side, I will bring some which I like.
Okay.
And you can have one of mine if you have to.
Perfect. Well, I'll bring a couple for you as well. And I really look forward to getting on the bench with you. And hey, on behalf of listeners here at Sauna Times, I want to thank you, Eero Kipi from North America Sauna Society. A very high-paying job you have, right?
Yeah.
You're doing it out of your love, out of love of good sauna, right, man?
I owe you. I owe you. We owe you. We Finns owe you guys. We did. We somewhere we let the ball down, and I picked it up, and I'm gonna bring it to the goal.
Right on, brother. Well, you're not alone, man. I want to pass you the ball, be there with you, or on the sidelines cheering you on.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much, Glenn. It's been a pleasure.
And to you.